24th, 2023 regular meeting of the Township of Montclair Planning Board. In accordance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting a copy of the notice on the first floor of the municipal building and by sending a copy to the newspaper designated by the township for notices. This meeting is being broadcast live on Channel 34 and is streaming live and will be available on demand on YouTube. This meeting is a quasi-judicial proceeding, meaning the board has powers and procedures resembling a court of law, and we are obligated to objectively determine facts and draw conclusions from them in order to provide the basis of an official action. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues of what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and the decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Please be advised that this is a no-smoking facility. Fire exits are to my right, your left, and the back of the room where you entered. As to the order of the evening, each application hearing begins with the applicant or their attorney giving an overview of the application and the variances that are required, if any. We then hear from any expert witnesses the applicant may have to help explain the application and why variances are required. The board members may ask questions of the applicant, the attorney, and their expert witnesses. If you are a member of the interested public but not a witness in the case, you will have 2 opportunities to speak. At the end of each witness's testimony, you will be given the opportunity to ask the witness questions about his or her testimony. That is not the time to tell the board what you think of the application. To ask questions, you will have to come to the front of the room, give us your name and address, and then ask your questions related to the witness's testimony only. After the applicant's witnesses and any objector witnesses have been heard, members of the audience will have their second opportunity to step forward. At that time, you may express your opinions, positive or negative, about the application. Comments are generally limited to 3 minutes per person. An additional time that the public may be heard is when 1 or more residents present to the board as an objector to the application. Objectors may be represented by counsel and present their cases, including independent evidence and witnesses, for the board to consider after the applicant has finished its case. Different from public comment, objectors and their witnesses are expected to present evidence for the board to consider, as opposed to only their personal opinions, and will be subject to cross-examination by the public and by the applicant. After completion of the applicant's case, objector's case, and public comment, the public hearing is closed and the board members discuss the case and vote. You will be able to listen to our discussion, but you will not be able to participate. All right, I'm going to go ahead and call roll. Ms. Talley, the Director of Planning and the Secretary to the Planning Board, is excused this evening. I'm Tommy Sibilli, the Assistant Planner, filling in for her. Mr. Ian Wally?
Here.
Ms. Lockman?
Here.
Mr. Ortiz? Mr. Pierre?
Present.
Ms. Willis? Mr. Jacobson?
I'm here.
Mr. Neiman?
Here.
Mr. Neese?
Here.
And this evening, Mr. Brodock, Mr. Graham, and Mr. Nguyen are all excused.
So in the absence of Chair Nguyen and Vice Chair Brodock, I make a motion to appoint a Chair Pro Tem, being Carmel Lockman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye? Aye.
All right.
Just a quick question.
Any opposed?
Oh, any
And
opposed?
any abstentions?
No.
Okay.
Just a quick question for Mr. Neese. There are 5, right? I mean, Mr. Ortiz allegedly is coming. If there are only 5 voting members,
We have a quorum.
I know we have a quorum. If anybody abstains from any matters, do we still have a quorum?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I needed to know. Thank you.
Okay, you ready to go? Good evening, everybody. The first order of business is a resolution for 103 Grove Street. However, that is still a work in progress, so we won't be looking at that tonight. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. So we don't have any old business, and our new business is application 2840, TLEHL Inc., 154 Pine Street. So if the attorney and applicant would like to come forward.
Sorry, do we want to just approve the minutes for April 10th?
Oh,
I didn't quite
That was
realize.
you.
I didn't
you
have them.
jumped in there too soon.
I don't have them.
Oh, yeah, we had the minutes. Yeah.
Okay. I don't need them. The question is, has everyone?
Does anybody have any changes to the minutes? Okay.
Normally, the board gets changes from Ms. Lockman.
And Ms. Lockman looked at them, and there were no changes, believe it or not. So I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Okay.
Any
Oh, anybody opposed? Come on, this is not like. Abstentions or opposition? No? Okay, the minutes are approved. Okay, the next order of business is new business, application 2840. Please come forward to present your application. Sure.
It'll be easier for me to talk into the mic. Good evening. My name is Kelly Carey from Pashman Stein. On behalf of the applicant, and as Mr. Neese said, we need an easy way to say this. The initials are TLEHL Inc., but we do call it TLEHL. It stands for the legal eel has landed, so there is a rhyme and a reason to it.
I just want to clarify, you call it TLEHL?
TLEHL.
So if you're not approved, will you get the TLEHL out of here?
Yes.
Okay.
That right there is, I may be making a motion.
Yeah.
I think we have
That may
bills
be,
we don't have to
that
pay
may be,
tonight.
that may be contemptible.
Yeah, can you move
Sure,
the
yeah.
microphone closer to you? Yeah.
And I do want to apologize. My client is on the way. He lives in town. He's too close to be to be late, but he is very close by.
Okay.
So I'm going to flip the order a little bit. I'm going to do my introduction, and then we'll bring up Mr. Steck first, and then we'll have him go on when he gets here, because I don't want to waste the board's time waiting for him. He should be here any minute. So just briefly to start off, this application is for conditional use approval for a micro cannabis manufacturing facility in a portion of the existing building at 154 Pine Street. TLEHL is owned by Ray Riga, who will be here in a few minutes. He lives in town with his family, and he already has an approval for a local license for cannabis from Montclair Township. He received that on March 14th. One update to what we submitted with the application papers, he also now has his state micro license approved. That was approved last week. So he has both his state and local licenses approved. This is the last step for him. The use of micro cannabis is considered a light industrial manufacturing use. It's the same as use has been historically at that building. The board is familiar with the property. We were here back in February for another tenant in that building for Genuine Grow. They'll be the tenant next door to each other in the back portion of the building. Again, this is a straight conditional use application. TLEHL is another new tenant in that same building. And it's a similar use as to the light industrial manufacturing uses that have traditionally been in that property. We do have a review from Ms. Tully dated March 28th, 2023, and we're in agreement with her conclusion that this site meets the conditions for conditional use. As I'm sure the board remembers, last time I was here, the tenant for this building went through a lot of testimony regarding the business and odor control and security measures and all of those types of things that aren't technically part of the conditional use requirements that this board needs to consider. We did feel it was important for the neighbors and for the board, since that was the first application for cannabis use at this property, to go through all of that. I will tell you that the answers to all those things will be similar for this tenant, this applicant. So we're going to proceed with it a little bit differently. Like I said, we're going to flip it and have Mr. Steck come up first, but then once Mr. Riga is here, I'm just going to have him introduce the sort of the operations of this business and how it's different, and then we'll present the conditional use, and then I will leave it open for questions if the board has questions as to the odor control and the security and all that. This application is also in a little bit of a different position because the last applicant had not received his local license approval from Montclair Township, and because we have received that, the board knows and the neighbors can be confident that all those details were already reviewed. Those details were part of the local license approval, even though they're not technically part of your conditional use approval. That stuff has all been approved now, the odor control and the security and all that. So that really has been done. So we will try to shorten this up and not have it be quite as long as the last hearing was. But again, we are all prepared and we have ready to answer any questions that there may be from the board or from the public on any of those issues. Okay, and this again is a micro business, and we contend that it's another low intensity use that really is appropriate for this building in this neighborhood. So we're going to have our witnesses. We're going to have Ray Riga, who's be here in a minute. We do also have Dave, who's here. We also have Dave Genova, the managing member of the property, and he's here. There is one question from the review memo that he'll address, and then again, just for any questions that anybody might have. And Mr. Steck, are you ready? You okay?
Do we want to swear him in? Yeah.
We'll get you sworn in.
Okay, please.
Sir, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give, sorry, I want to say that again. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Would you please state your full name and business affiliation for the record?
My name is Raymond Riga. I am the founder and CEO of TLEHL Incorporated. That's pronounced TLEHL. TLEHL.
Okay, thank you.
Just want to make sure, see if this is on, because,
Check.
okay, the light's just off. Okay, so Mr. Riga, if you can just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and your business background and your connections to Montclair.
Sure. So, my wife and I moved to Montclair about 5 years ago to settle down here and start our family, and we've been living happily here ever since. My background is I do have some experience starting up an independent consulting venture. I did that for a few years. And I also have an MBA from the NYU Stern School of Business, and I focused on entrepreneurship there. So those are some of the things that have drawn me to this entrepreneurial opportunity here in town.
Can we put up the exhibit? I think it was up there a minute ago. So this is an exhibit. This was not part of the packet. I don't know if you want to mark this. Mr. Steck submitted, we submitted this morning, so you'd have it for the screen. It's 3 pages of a packet, photos and maps. Okay, all right. Do we need to assign this A1 or?
Actually, why don't we, do you have the exhibit list? We're just going to pause for a moment so that we can put the exhibit list
Okay.
on the record.
All right, so for this application, the exhibits A1, the application for development dated March 27th, 2023. A2, 26-page exhibit appended to the application. A3, an Alta survey prepared by Michael Prenesti dated January 13th, 2023. A4, the planning report prepared by Janice Talley, professional planner, dated March 28th, 2023. And then this presentation will be marked as Exhibit A5.
Okay, do we have the proof of service and the affidavit of service?
We do, yes.
Uh,
So,
Let's mark the proof of service A6.
okay.
And the affidavit of service as A7.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Riga, if you probably using what's on the board, if you can just explain to the public and to the board where your tenancy is within the building and kind of how your operation works. And go ahead, go up there, yeah.
Yeah, actually, before you do that, Mr. Riga, is this what you are showing us part of what was submitted to the board?
No, this is a separate exhibit. It's a colorized version of portions of what were submitted. On the left was submitted as, that's part of the survey, and on the right was submitted as its own sheet in the packet of stuff. But today we put this together and colorized it differently.
Yeah, it's in the packet that Mr. Steck
Oh,
just
just
handed
now.
out.
Just handed
Yeah,
out now.
it's
But
last
it-
page.
But it does come from things that were submitted with the application.
So again, Mr.
Yeah.
Steck handed this out, A5, it's a 3-page exhibit. The third page, P-3, is what's up on the screen now, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
So, yeah, what was originally provided was just one image, and it had all the fine detail of what was inside here. That was what we originally provided. So this is kind of a breakout that makes it a little easier to see the detail of our planned operation here. So this is the overall building, and we will be in this back, I guess, southwesternly corner it would be, or just kind of westernly. Within here, for security purposes, we are going to have an area called a secure vestibule. All access to our space will first have to go through this secure vestibule to add an additional layer of security against unauthorized entry. The facility will also be outfitted with various security systems, such as alarm systems, surveillance systems, and access control systems. These will all be integrated and will be monitored remotely on a 24/7 basis. The large main area will be where the manufacturing and packaging operations take place. Only authorized individuals will be allowed in that space at any time. We have over here a waste storage room. Our plan regarding waste storage is to store all related waste in this area and then schedule occasional pickups with a service named Triumvirate, which I believe you've heard about in Genuine Grow's application as well. Then up in the back, we have a break room for employees, and that storage will be for storage of consumable office goods and so forth like that, storage for items that you would find in any other business. And over here, the inventory room will be the most highly secured room. There are no windows or anything like that, and that's where we will store the raw materials, we will store work in progress, and we will store finished goods ready to be sold in that room there.
Do you want to give them a little, I don't know if you need the map still, a little bit of an idea of what you're excited about the business? I know you talked about how you want to be environmentally friendly, and what makes your business a little bit unique compared to others?
Sure, yeah. Part of our mission is to be powered by renewable energy and to aim for carbon neutrality very early in our operations. We plan to work with an organization called Solar Landscape that is a community solar program that has partnered with PSE&G. This will allow us to source solar from solar farms in New Jersey for our operation and know that it is renewably powered from day one. We will also be partnering for employment reasons with the New Jersey Department of Labor's Workforce Rehabilitation Services Program. So a portion of our staffing will be composed of individuals with disabilities that have supported employment through this program.
And while you're on employees, you're, in the beginning, you're going to have approximately 3 employees and 2 shifts, is that correct?
Yes, we would expect to be hiring for only part-time shifts for start, and the day will be broken up into 2 shifts, like a morning and an afternoon shift. And part-time workers will be able to choose an assortment of morning and afternoon shifts to suit their schedules.
And the hours for the business are going to be?
I believe the hours we're looking at are 9 to 7. Or,
I think we'd say 10 to 7.
10 to 7,
okay.
yes.
Not trying to throw you a curveball. And for deliveries, about 3 to 5 incoming and outgoing deliveries per week?
Yes, that's what we expect. And I think that certainly if Genuine Grow's application is approved, that will help reduce that possibly even a little bit because some of our incoming raw material shipments, instead of coming from another third-party supplier at another licensed location, would come from within the same facility.
And is it fair to say that the manufacturing process that you have is organic? You're just like mechanically manipulating the flowers to produce what's the product?
Absolutely, yes. There are, within the realm of cannabis manufacturing, there are many different tools and techniques. We are going to only be using what are called solventless techniques. It means that we will not use any chemical solvents whatsoever in our production. The only things we will be using are water, heat, temperature, and time. So those are what we're going to use to create the finished products. And besides that, it'll just be packaging of various sorts to package different types of products.
And you're not proposing a generator, right? You're going to use a battery backup for your security system?
That, in keeping with our mission of having everything be renewably powered, yes. We will, the security and access control systems will have a in-house battery backup system on top of an uninterruptible power supply. So in other words, those systems will be hooked up first to an uninterruptible power supply, so that when the power, if and when the power does cut out, there will be no interruption whatsoever in the power delivered. And then that UPS will have a larger battery backup feed to help it run in a sustained power outage kind of situation.
Before you go any further, what exactly are you manufacturing? Are you making gummies? Are you making?
So the gummies would fall under the umbrella of edibles, and that, actually, we're not planning on manufacturing edibles. We may actually make some products that we would wholesale to other manufacturers that make edibles. What we're going to be making primarily are called rosin is the name of the product, or it's also known as concentrates. So that is a product that can either be enjoyed by adult use consumer, or can be used by another manufacturer to make further value add type products that way. We will also be making some other type of end user products like tinctures, which would be an extract in alcohol, but then the person is buying the alcohol. It's not like I'm selling them something and acting like that was never in there, and that's not supposed to be in there. That would just be like a dropper. You could add some to a beverage to add that feature to the beverage, and also topicals. So, meant to be used on the skin. So there are really lots of different categories of cannabis products, and we'll just be kind of doing these few, and something else called pre-rolls, which is just simply cigarettes shaped, for convenience, pre-rolled joints. So that's really the kind of gamut of what we expect to be producing.
So when you're selling a liquid, you're saying, some kind of liquid for your tincture?
Yes.
And you're selling a rosin, kind of like hashish or something?
Similar to that,
Yeah,
yes.
and then you're selling loose pot that you'd put in a cigarette. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, just so I know, yeah.
Yes, so,
All right.
yeah, we can talk more about the business.
So what is the nature of the waste that you're going to generate?
So the waste will be largely unusable material that, for example, stalks and stems, also material that has been put through various mechanical processes and had most of its effective contents removed from it. So there will still be some material that contains THC. That is the reason why we have chosen to opt for an internal waste storage room and to go with a waste management partner that is licensed to remove that type of waste.
Do you know what they do with it?
Well, by law, it needs to be quote unquote destroyed. Right now, my understanding is that they do use typically like a gasoline or a material like that and mix that with the spent material, and they are confident that that meets the legal definition of destroyed.
If you're not sure, though, you don't have to.
I mean, that's, from my conversation I had with Triumvirate, that's my understanding of what they do with it right now.
Are there seeds that are left over?
I won't be, I don't expect to be having any seeds in the raw materials I source. So I don't think so, no.
So in terms of supply, is your supply exclusively coming from Genuine Grow as a cultivator?
No, it will come from Genuine Grow and other licensed
others?
cultivators.
Okay.
And that's included in that idea of 3 to 5 shipments per week. That includes incoming and outgoing.
Okay. Can you give us an idea of the size, or what what do the deliveries look like, frequency and so forth?
Sure. So I am doing a micro business license, which limits me not only to 10 employees and 2,500 square feet of operation, but also to a maximum of processing 1,000 pounds per month of the material. I don't expect to be ramping up to that until maybe 2 or 3 years into the operation. I expect maybe to be sourcing more like 5 pounds of material a week to start, and then 10. Those are quantities that I could carry in here.
Okay.
I mean, that's not something, I mean, I expect most of deliveries to be happening via something like a cargo van or a step van, not big giant semis coming through or anything like that by any means.
And then, is there any common ownership? I know that the application indicates that you own 100% of TLEHL. Is there common ownership at all with Genuine Grow, or is it 2 independent businesses?
2 independent businesses.
Thank you.
And is it correct that you have your own door there to the parking lot where your loading will come in, I guess? Or
So what we have here is, so this area here is the parking lot.
right.
And what we have here is a lobby area that will not be open to the public. So we are working on whether this will be under lock and key or a shared digital access control system. We're still figuring all that out since we are 2 independent businesses. But we know for sure that will not be open to the public. Then the workers for either company would come in here, and then this will be the door to TLEHL that leads to our additional secure vestibule, and then further into our operation.
But isn't there a door by your office that goes into the parking lot?
Yes, that's an additional egress for fire safety,
Oh,
a second
okay.
egress for fire code reasons.
But you're, uh-oh. I know. Uh-oh. That lobby area is also open to tenants A and D, correct?
I believe that they will have their fire egress will be through that space, but I can let the owner speak more to that. But that's my basic understanding.
What are the members of the public? Who's coming into this place?
The people who will be coming in typically will only be my staff or visitors who are business-to-business visitors for someone affiliated with my company that would be tracked in a visitor management system. So all visitors would have to be over 21 and would be tracked with all of their arrivals and departures from the space. So that would typically be like someone that was a buyer for a retailer, or someone that was a cultivator that wanted to come and see the space and know what we were going to be doing with the products if they were thinking about supplying us. It might also be someone that was a potential investor, something like that, or someone that has an expertise that I want to bring in. For example, if I have a good friend who's an electrician, I might give them a pass and put them into our visitor management system and make sure they're over 21 and bring them in just for a limited amount of time. Because of the fact that we are using a sophisticated access management system, visitors like that would be able to be granted access only for very narrow time frames. So if someone visits me today and I have the system set up to let them in with, for example, their mobile phone as a credential, that could then get shut down immediately after their visit concludes, and they will no longer be able to have that access.
And these visits are just, sorry. go ahead.
Is it possible for you to predict the number of visitors that you would expect to have?
Any visit that occurs, it would be someone that would have to be escorted at all times by a TLEHL employee. So this is not something that I'd be looking to do sort of like, I mean, it would cost the company money. It costs the company money to have a visitor when it comes down to it. So that is something that I wouldn't say that we would expect a daily visitor, for example. I think maybe we might expect a few visitors a week, something like that.
And where would those visitors be parking?
I don't, so we are given 2 parking spaces. I know that the company is planning to have one delivery vehicle of our own, and we'll kind of have one floater space. So, you know, I will drive and use that space some days, but depending on the visitor and the context, that usually, frankly, it's going to be someone that I will be personally escorting through the facility. So I will work with whoever the visitor is to make good use of that floating parking space.
But you have up to 10 employees, right?
Yes.
So basically, you're saying you're going to be parking on the street in the neighborhood?
I mentioned that I'll be working with the Department of Labor's
Yeah.
Vocational Rehabilitation Services. They have told me that most of their most of the consumers, as they call them, that they provide will use public transportation. So we feel that the space is walking distance from the Walnut Street station, and that is a viable means of worker commuting back and forth from the spot.
And you're also, under your micro license, required to have at least 50% of the people come from within the town or within the town next door to this?
The micro business license at the state level requires
requires.
that 25% of the employees come from either Montclair or a directly bordering municipality. But then also the Montclair license had, required us to say in good faith that we would attempt to have 50% of all our employees from Montclair proper. So we're also hoping to find some employees that literally could walk or bike to work from where they live.
And this goes to the property owner as well, but are you doing anything to encourage folks to do that by perhaps providing secure bike parking, well-lighted bike parking, covered bike parking, bike parking?
Totally will defer to the owner on that one. Great question.
Okay. So I have another question about, you must do some quality testing. Is the product consumed on the site in some way for testing or for whatever?
We will not be consuming the product on the site. The testing will be happening off-site in private homes of my workers and myself.
I'm thinking potential buyers would probably want to test the product first. Where would that be done?
So that's a little different. So if we're sending some product samples to retailers, that is going to go through the same secure transport channels as the other products that we sell.
So is your testimony there'll be no consumption of any of your products on site?
Yes, that is my testimony.
Okay, thank you.
So these are probably questions for your counsel. The March 14th approval by the township, was that a council approval or an administrative approval?
That was council resolution.
Is that in the record?
Yes.
I don't have it.
You may not have had the copy of it to submit when we submitted the application, but we can certainly get that to the board.
I just have one question about it. You may know off the top of your head. When the council approved it by resolution, did they specifically approve it being adjoining Genuine Grow? Because under the Class 2 license, you can have two businesses that together are more than 2,500 square feet in the same building, but the council has to specifically approve that use.
I do not believe so. They really put them in as completely separate applications.
Doesn't
different.
matter.
I think it's if you're the same owner, then
Right.
that is the.
I don't
But
think that's right,
I
but.
don't know that we asked, I don't know that they asked for it, so I don't know that it was in the, I can't tell you
Okay.
exactly what the resolution says.
And
Can you repeat what you said? I just want to make sure. that I
so,
understand.
well, I mean, it's up to the council's council, but the micro license, when you've got two micro businesses in the same building, the township has to approve, the township has to specifically approve the two businesses, knowing that they've got two micro businesses together.
Well, so
Mhm.
maybe this is the answer. I believe we're still waiting on Genuine Grow to get their approval from council. They have not received the resolution yet. So that's the answer.
That may in fact be the answer. What it says in the packet to us is that the business is approximately 2,350 square feet. Who measured it, and is there a formal number that was submitted to the state that somebody certified?
Can I speak to that?
Yeah.
Sure.
We have received our conditional approval from the state. That did not require us to provide proof of site control. So we have not yet provided that information to the state. That will be part of our conversion application at the state level.
Okay, because you see what I'm asking. In other words, the license you're seeking requires you to be less than 2,500, and you're putting in here approximately 2,350, so you're right
Yes.
up there.
It requires for the actual operations where the cannabis touching operations occur to be no more than 2,500
I
square
think it's
feet.
actually cannabis related, but
Well, so for example, the break room and the office, I think it could be, well, you know.
Not my circus, not my
Regardless,
monkeys,
the
but yeah.
entire area, we're pretty confident it's under 2,500. I believe I pay per square foot per year, so I think we can have some deal of confidence in that number.
Counsel, I thought you said that they had both of their approvals.
They do. So
Oh.
it's the micro approval, but then they,
Oh, I
right,
know.
Genuine
Yeah,
Grow, Montclair Council hasn't done the retail one yet, which is what Genuine Grow is waiting for.
I thought
But this-
you just said that
but,
you didn't have your
TLEHL.
approvals, both approvals.
No, okay, so we have our conditional approval from the state. We can't get our conversion approval until after we do our facility build out.
Right. Sorry.
You mentioned retail, but I'm confused there. I
I'm
thought
sorry, you're right. No, you're,
it's
it's
cultivated.
it is cultivation.
There's no retail
I
on
am
it.
sorry. No,
Okay, all
I'm
right.
sorry.
Thank you.
Most of the applications I do are retail, just, no.
I'm just going in one direction.
Just for the record, there's no retail in this.
Correct.
Okay. Sorry, that was totally my fault.
I mean, I think you might want to, when Genuine Grow comes before the council, you might just want to make sure that that's nice and clean. Because I think that is the right answer for this one, but I think that it isn't for the next
No, I
one.
appreciate that. Yeah, well, thank you. I don't have any more questions for Mr. Riga. If the board does, if you want to open it up to the public. Like I said, we can go into more details on things, but here, let me just run down the conditional use requirements under the ordinance. Mr. Riga, this is not located on Walnut Street, correct?
Correct. It's on Pine Street.
It's okay. It's located on the first floor and will not have an alternative medical treatment facility at this
That-
location?
That's correct.
This is not a home occupation, correct?
Correct.
This is not housed in a vehicle, correct?
Correct.
And this is well within, well outside of the 250 feet of a K through 12 school or licensed daycare facility, correct?
Correct. The closest school is the Deron School, which is over 1,000 feet away.
And that is the conditional use requirement that the board needs to consider.
Does any of the board members have any questions? Any more questions? How about the public of this witness? Any questions of this witness? Come on up.
Hi, I'm Beth Calamia Shekel, 150.
Oh,
Beth Calamia Shekel, 153 Pine Street, your neighbor. A few questions. Are A and D Genuine Grow? So is this, or where?
No, no.
C is Genuine Grow.
Oh, okay, I couldn't see it from where I was. So is the front of the building going to end up being retail, marijuana retail? Is this? 'Cause-
No.
No.
Oh.
And we will have the owner come up, but no. We've been told no. And
Okay,
certainly we're
because
not
I know
making
there
that
might not
application.
be a plan, but
Yeah.
when we were here for the Genuine Grow meeting, we didn't know about this one. So I'm wondering if the news is trickling in.
We did mention, this was mentioned, the owner did mention that he was working on a lease with his
Yeah,
tenant.
Or it wasn't approved
It
at
wasn't
that
approved,
point.
right,
Okay.
right, there was-
Yeah,
they
no,
didn't have-
I don't-
they're right about that. They did, we knew this one was coming.
Okay.
And I think our application says that it's potential for, what is it, a audio equipment, something? Yeah, that
Okay.
Mr. Genova will talk about, yeah.
I'm concerned about the relatively small parking lot, especially for a third business that's coming in, or a third and fourth business. We had some trouble with the parking earlier, where people were blocking our driveway for people who are going in and out of the building. And and it's a narrow street, and there's 2-hour parking on the street, even for residents. So, I just want to know where this is going with the parking lot. And then finally, my third question is about the nighttime security. So I feel like during the day, you're on top of things, very secure, but what we heard at the last meeting from Genuine Grow, and I guess the owner, but now that you're establishing yourself there too, I want to hear a little bit more about the security during the night and the potential for bright lights at night and sound and that.
Sure, we have no plans to request any additional outdoor lighting for security reasons. We plan to use I don't want to go into too much detail about the security, but we plan to use security that will be as effective with the nighttime environment as it is in the daytime for our outdoor surveillance purposes. Also, we will have alarm systems around points where forced entry attempts might occur.
And will you be providing your contact information to the neighbors and to the local police for 24-hour?
Yes, I will be listed as the emergency contact for the location. My name and phone number will be posted on a 8.5 by 11 sign at the entrance.
And you'll make sure that the neighbors know how to contact you if there are issues with parking or anything else?
Absolutely, yes. I want to hear about all those things so that we can proactively solve any issues before they become a problem for our business.
And will you be able to talk about the parking situation in general for the building tonight?
Well, Beth, I was going to
Okay.
ask you, do you know, you happened to mention it's 2-hour parking on Pine Street. Do you know if it's 2-hour on Walnut Street as well? Do you have
Yes.
It is as well?
And in fact, I myself have gotten a ticket in front of my own house
Okay. Yeah,
on a
so-
day off from work. So, but I'm more concerned, it's a tight space, and some of the residents, like my driveway only fits one car. So when I'm home, and my husband sometimes works from home, I'm on the street, but if other people are, if the street is going to be filled with employees' cars, where am I, in a selfish, it's selfish, but where am I going to park then?
So maybe your shifts are going to be longer than 2 hours, right? Is that correct?
Yes, we expect the shifts to be 5 or 6 hour shifts.
So the employees, realistically, parking on the street is not going to work for them?
That's correct. That's not our plan for those employees.
Okay, so there's another plan rather than
Well, I mean, as
filling the street
Yeah,
with.
I think he's already testified to the fact that they're going to try to bring in people who use public transportation, and then a good number of people from town. who
Right, no, I
hopefully
understand
can-
that for this particular business, but then if there are going to be 4 businesses using the one parking lot, that might be more for
We are gonna
the
bring the owner
owner.
up. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other member of the public? Yeah, come on up. Please state your name and ask your question.
Can you bring up your map again?
Sorry. Thank you.
My name is Maxine Bergner. I live at 148 Pine Street, one of three. Oh, it was on, sorry. My name is Maxine Bergner. I live at 148 Pine Street, one of 3 residential condominiums, townhouse style, that are attached and adjacent to this parking lot. This is us. Right here, we're 6 inches away. So that kind of gives you a little logistical basis of some of my questions. Can you tell me how you manufacture? What kind of fuel supply? How do you heat your water temperature, maintain your environment?
We will be using electrically powered devices in all cases.
So you will not be using propane or butane or any kind of
No
compressed-
entanes whatsoever. No.
So no tanks of compressed air or anything like that?
So no tanks of compressed air, but we may use pneumatically powered devices, so we may be compressing air in the space. That will be
Okay.
happening inside the space.
Thank you. And I had one other question. I wanted to make sure I understood.
Please try to talk into the microphone. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's recorded,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I wanted to make sure that I understood a piece of this map. And that is here. This is the entrance, and that's the entrance and the exit for some of your customers, for people carting away waste, making deliveries, and it is for B and C. And this is what here? This narrow strip, what is that?
That's just land that's not part of the building. That's a narrow strip of land that's part of the site, is my understanding.
Okay, so a truck comes in to take waste from interior of your manufacturing plant,
Yes.
carries it out here and to the street, is that correct?
We would expect either that or, our intention would be for the waste not to leave the property before it enters the truck. So we would not, I don't think it's illegal for us to have a situation where the truck, say, parks elsewhere on the street and then an employee is bringing the waste material down the street to the truck. I think we would want the truck to kind of back up into.
Well, that was my question
the-
with,
or drive, or either back up or drive into the parking lot for just the brief span of time required to load the waste into the truck, or to do any other shipment drop-offs or pickups.
with low-volume parking and pretty much taken up by 4 businesses, and there isn't much space turnaround. You're literally parked on our property line. Do you have sufficient room for an even van to pull in and remove a 5x5 box of debris?
The answer is yes, because we don't expect these to be large commercial vehicles. We expect these to be, as I said, cargo van-sized vehicles.
So if there was not space for a van to come into the parking lot because busy day, every employee showed up at work, you had one spot, somebody took the other spot. It basically comes in here, gets pushed out across the parking lot, probably, here's your building edge, out into the street where a van would load it up.
I don't think that's the case. Again, I think that we have a legal concern there, and I think what we would have to do in the event that there was some kind of blockage of the driveway would be to simply coordinate with the other tenants and mitigate that situation just by, the fact is there will be cars in that driveway, and there will be people attached to those cars, and the people will be in the building. So hopefully we will be able to, if such a thing occurs, we would be able to handle it that way.
Because once a van pulls into your lot, nobody gets in and nobody gets out, because it's not a big lot. Because if a van pulls in this way and everyone is parked this way, there's no movement.
For our company, we will have what I called one flex space, and I would be leveraging that space to create this room personally as well as needed.
So you're saying because it's a van-sized vehicle that they'll be able to actually pull into your parking space?
Yes.
And you can coordinate with them, hopefully, for a time frame that works?
That's correct.
Okay, I had concerns because Pine Street is, and it's been mentioned before, is no parking entirely on one side because it's a narrow street, and the other has limited hours most of the day and no overnight. And it is the main route between the firehouse, cross town, north to anything on the other side of town. So you can't have double parking on that street because you're blocking fire access.
Absolutely. We take fire safety seriously. That's part of our safety and security plan, and that extends to our surroundings. We don't want to create a fire hazard in the street any more than we do in our facility.
Okay, because this, again, is our building, and we have had people, as Beth had mentioned, literally parking in our driveway, across our driveway, blocking us from getting in and out because of the limited parking on street. You
Yeah.
suggested that people come from a commute at the railroad station at Walnut Street. That's about a 10-block walk. And the other railroad station, there isn't much public transportation to drop people off at your door. So I had hesitations about cars dropping off people constantly, or buses from maybe workshops or schools who are providing employees the opportunity to work there, but get there however they can. Okay, thank you.
I'd just like to correct that. It's not a 10-block walk to the Walnut Street train station from this location. It's about a 3-block walk. I live on Walnut Street. Yeah.
Thank you, Maxine.
That's it.
Anybody else in the public want to question this witness? Okay, so you can bring your next witness, please.
There were a number of questions for the building owner, so I'll bring up Dave Gennaro, who was the managing member of the companies who own this property. Is that the correct way to say that?
Sure.
I'll get you sworn in.
Sir, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Would you please state your full name and business affiliation for the record?
Sure. David Genova, 131 Glenridge Avenue, Montclair, New Jersey. I'm the managing member of 154 Pine Street LLC, which is the owner of the building.
David, is that mic on?
I think so.
Oh, okay, maybe move it close.
Get a little
The
closer,
light's out,
sorry.
but it works. So let's start with the questions that the members of the public and the board were asking as far as parking in your tenants. If you can just maybe remind people that weren't here the last meeting, put it on the record for this meeting. What tenants do you have and how is it all set up?
So starting from A and going to D, A is a wholesale supplier of audiovisual equipment. That is a signed lease. That is in process. It's in construction now as part of our base building. That space is being converted now. So they will take occupancy in June or July on that space. B is the applicant that's here tonight, micro manufacturing business. C is the applicant that was here in February that still has some ways to go in their municipal approvals, their overall council approval for their operation, but received conditional use support from this board. And D it remains vacant. D does not have a user at this time. We may be coming in. I'm considering moving my office there, which I understand would require a parking variance and some other relief from the board, should I do that. We're exploring that, but currently there is no tenant in place for Space D.
Are you considering moving your office there in part because of an understanding of the parking issues at this property?
Correct.
So have you spoken with each of these tenants that you've leased so far and made them aware of the restraints of the parking?
I have, yeah.
And were they were each okay with
They were.
understanding their limitations?
The wholesale nature of what happens in Space A, there's not a lot of employees on site there. I don't remember actually this. Janice and I went through this when we were applying for our building permits on Space A. I don't want to testify on their behalf, but it's a big space with not that many people. They have big equipment, big things that they rent out, lighting trusses and things for stages, things for outdoor festivals. So they require a lot of square feet, but they don't have a ton of people working in there. And there's no retail operation to it, so customers don't come there. They put it out in their van, they bring it out, they set up a community, stage or a community concert in places in, I don't know if they do it in Montclair, but in towns like Montclair. And this would be the wholesale operation and storage for their operation. And then you guys were able to hear from Genuine Grow at the last meeting. And those are the three tenants we have today.
With the potential lease of A, you say it's large audio equipment. Do they use large trucks to transport their audio equipment?
They have Sprinter vans.
What's a Sprinter van?
It's not a dual axle truck, like it's not like a tractor trailer. It's a compact truck. That's what they put most of their things out. I couldn't say that they never have a larger truck that comes, but they own 2 Sprinter vans that I'm to understand are equipped to bring out their things to various parts in the community and set it up.
Is there still a curb cut in front of A that they could pull into?
There is.
Yeah,
And A has its own garage door.
that would open up?
Correct.
For them to back into?
Correct.
Is that the plan?
It
for
is.
review? Okay, thank you.
I think unless the board has, or the public have any more questions, I think that was, parking was really
Wanted
good.
to ask about the Janice's note about HVAC. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
we'll do it. Might as well.
There was also, there was also a note on the review memo, just to clarify the rooftop equipment, because we have started to work on that. Yeah,
We have.
correct, yeah.
Yep, so last time we were here, I testified to, there was some conversation about whether there be ground-mounted condensers, ground-mounted generators, and we had a plan at that time. That plan has been more formalized and executed since that time. And the area where it says HVAC units behind screening, which is kind of the rear south side of the building, basically over raised space, has a new platform that has been constructed to hold all of the condensing units in the building. That is slightly different than what our idea was last time, where we had thought we were going to put it on the shed roof over the brick, closer to the front and closer to some of the residential uses. Back there, it more borders the speech rehabilitation center that's in the CVS parking lot and more commercial uses, and is further away and deeper into the parking lot, away from the residential uses. And that has been permitted and updated with the construction department, hearing this board's, original concerns, so that's where the HVAC units will be.
And there is screening around that. It's not just open,
There's
sitting on the
screening
roof.
around that, correct.
And where is your normal garbage container for all the tenants?
There isn't a proposed dumpster.
There's no dumpster
on this
proposed?
building. Everybody's responsible for maintaining the trash in their space. For the front tenant, there isn't a ton of garbage. It's
Just-
their equipment in and out, maybe some packaging that they'll have to remove. And for the 2 rear tenants, because of their specific needs, both statewide legally and to get their licenses, they have to control their own garbage as well. It can't just go outside into a dumpster. So there's no plan for a screened dumpster area or garbage in that parking lot.
Spaces, actual parking spaces, are there in that parking lot?
It's an unstriped parking lot, and from what we understand, it has historically been unstriped. We've been unable to find any evidence of it being striped in the past.
So, one young lady said that if there's a truck in there, you can't get any cars in or out. Is that your understanding as well?
I don't think that's the case. I mean, it's not a wide, very wide parking lot. Certainly not wide to double load, right? You can't put cars on one side, have a drive aisle, and cars on the other side. But there is space to get past the first car to get to the second and the third and the fourth. So, it appears as though you can kind of park on the lot line and traverse the parking lot on the north side of it. There's enough of an aisle for cars to get in and out and get to the rear of the space.
And yet, I thought I heard testimony that certain of the tenants get assigned or have a number of spots.
They have a
that are-
number of vehicles that they can store on the, in the parking area.
And which tenants have parking?
The 3
Area.
tenants that are identified today each have a number of vehicles that they can put into the lot.
How many?
The audio tenant has 5. I don't remember
Yeah.
Ray's
4.
count.
So I'm just trying to
Ray's
figure
count
out,
has
if
Ray's
your
4.
question is
Ray's
valid. How many cars
Ray's
can?
2, and
Andrew was 4.
Andrew has 4.
How many
So
cars
a total
can-
of 11.
How many cars can fit in the lot, do you think?
We've looked at a bunch of orientations. They're somewhere between 14 and 16, depending on
Can
how you
fit in that
put them.
lot?
If those were legally striped
Oh.
spaces.
Okay. That's interesting, because it seems smaller when you look at the
Yeah.
lot, yeah. Have you
I'll-
any discussions with, Carrie Heller about using the CVS parking lot? Because I know he seems to have excess spaces.
He doesn't think he has excess
Oh,
spaces.
okay. But you do, right? Yeah, okay.
I'll only note, anyone who doesn't come by car helps address your parking problem, so making sure there's good alternatives.
That
is
was
a
part of the
great idea.
calculus in both of these two tenants specifically.
Anything else from the board? or should
Anybody
we-
else? Oh, please. Come up and use the mic, thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Are you,
Just put your name on the record again, please, thank you.
this one?
You, just your name again. Your name
What is your
again?
name, please?
Oh, Maxine Bergner,
Thank you.
148 Pine Street. I thought you might have remembered me a few
Well, I
minutes ago.
did, but for the record.
It's a new
Mr.
witness.
Genova, are you able at this time or willing to say what kind of a parking variance you have applied for if you should move in to your office at that location?
I haven't applied for that. We have 3 full-time employees besides me in my office, so there are 4 people who come to the office on a daily basis. This space, I think, from an office perspective, I would need a parking variance no matter what I said, because office space is not approved in that zone without, let me go backwards. The office count, square footage count, would exceed the amount of office that has historically been in the site. So it's no longer grandfathered, it's no longer part of, the historic uses there. So anything we would do, we would have to ask for a parking variance. I can tell you that if we propose to move our office there, we have a total of 4 employees, of which 2 are every day and 2 are 2 to 3 days a week. And that's the problem we would have to solve within that lot.
Understanding that your on-lot spaces are pretty much dedicated to the 4 businesses that will be located there, what's your best guess, based on your knowledge of the neighborhood, that you would like to put your office parking spaces?
It's not totally taken by the tenants we have. We have at least 3 or 4 spaces left if
So-
it were to be striped. I also live walking distance from the building. I currently walk to work. I would probably myself walk to this site.
That's discretionary. You may have people who don't want to walk, they want to drive, or they're coming from further away than you.
They may. They've worked for me for a while, and again, more than one of us is walking distance from this site. But we haven't applied for that. We haven't put it in front of the board yet, and there would be its own application for
So
that.
your first strategy is to take the 4 spaces that you require for your office and share it with your tenants. Is that a correct statement?
I think I misunderstood.
You mentioned you had 14 to 16 available parking spaces.
Correct, and we've given away 11 of them.
Okay, so the others, right, as of today, with no variance approved or even presented, the 4 office spaces would be sharing the lot with your tenants. You have 11 spaces
Yeah.
that are dedicated to your tenants.
Correct. We
Plus
would-
4 for your office personnel, should you
Correct.
locate there.
Should we apply for this, that would be some amount of
Okay,
our
that's your 16, so you made it under the wire. Good,
See
thank
that.
you.
Yeah, sure.
Anybody else have a question for Mr. Genova? Nope, okay.
I missed
Anybody
a
else?
question.
Oh, sure.
Did we talk about odor?
Well,
I'm
the
sorry, this is
application
the
does,
wrong
yeah.
witness. I'm sorry, I probably, is it possible to ask one question of the owner of the
Sure,
business?
sure. Yeah.
And this just might be for clarification. The material that you submitted, page 3 of 6, it says that, sufficient odor-absorbing ventilation and exhaust systems such that odor generated inside is not detectable and so forth. Is there any more specificity as to, like, for example, with these sorts of facilities, is there a standard or some technology or something that you can name? What's named here is kind of generic, like odor-absorbing things.
Sure.
Machinery, so,
Yeah, because this is an issue not just in our state, but around the country and in other regions where it's been legalized. There are there's a range of specialized equipment for this industry. There's a term that's similar to the idea of, say, current good manufacturing practices. That term is best available control techniques. So there is a growing body of standards and best practices around what kind of equipment to use for this control. What that's going to look like materially, without getting into too much detail, is that we will have equipment that will be intended to reduce odor and pathogens from the air. So this has to do with maintaining the high quality of our products. So it's really killing two birds with one stone. Those will be recirculating solutions within the facility. So that will be continually cleaning the air for the workers as it's happening. We then intend to also have sort of a duplicative further filtration of that air, odor control measures in place that are integrated with the HVAC system that brings air in and sends air out. So there will be an air filtration step as the air is pushed out of the facility as well. We feel confident that that will mitigate the odor so that it will not be detectable by neighbors.
And you're
Is
working
there
with,
a-
sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, I would just say, yeah, I'm working with a prerequisite for the general contractor that we'll be hiring, and we're in the process right now of soliciting 3 bids for that work. They're all already experienced with cannabis build-outs specifically, so they have the expertise to outfit those systems. The team that will be executing the build-out work will be working with the requirements I give them as I presented them to you. And we will find whatever we can that fits our budget to meet those goals. We're even looking, because of our renewable and carbon neutral mission, at filtration that is from natural sources like coconut husks and other things like that. We're really trying to explore the ways that we could do this that meet our goals and resonate with our mission.
One more quick. When the odor is measured, is there a standard? Is it a scale of 1 to 10? How does one quantify what is an odor? Like, for example, it says here that the township will, on an annual basis, monitor. So the facility shall be monitored on an annual basis at the discretion of the township by a licensed qualified contractor. So if you're looking at light spillage, there could be lumens, there's quantities of things that might be, or noise, decibels, and so forth. Is there an actual standard for what an odor is, or?
That's a good question. I am not a qualified contractor in that field, but I do know that my recollection of the language in the state regulations is that it's a person with reasonable senses standing at the property line, and whether they can just from a qualitative sense smell it. They may have mechanical devices to more quantitatively assess that. I'm not sure.
If I could just,
Okay, thank you.
and if there are state standards or local standards, whatever they are or put in place, you agree to comply with those?
Of course, yes, that's our intent.
Yeah, thank you.
I just have one more question. Is your license from Montclair and from the state, does it have an end date? Or does it just be
I believe the licenses in both cases need to be renewed on an annual basis.
renewed annually?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. Anybody else? Any questions? Audience? Questions, or public, I should say?
The filtration system, is a filter done in-house? Or is there a company that comes to do that? It's a two-part question. And also for the scent or odor, there's no state official that comes out and makes sure that it's in compliance?
We are subject to sort of random inspection by the state. I don't know that we have a sort of expectation of a schedule on which they will arrive.
Yeah, but I mean, for the order itself, is that part of your inspection as well?
That would be, so yes, certainly. I mean, so part of what, license renewal process. So the first inspection that we will get of our facility will be before we get our conversion, before we actually go into business. So there will be no odor because there will be no product there yet. A year from then, when we come up for our renewal, certainly, whether there is a detectable odor at the property line will be part of that inspection, yes.
I'm not sure that your first question, Mr. Pierre, was answered about the filtration system. How is that going to, the filters, how is that going to be handled?
So the filtration systems will have filters that will just need to be replaced on a periodic basis, just like any other routine maintenance for other equipment. So that's just something that we'll be getting. I mean, those are filters that we can just get shipped from any normal service via UPS or something like that. So we're not going to be, say every 3 months, let's say, we want to replace our filters. So we'd probably store 2 or 3 generations of those filters and just top it off anytime we go through a set.
So right, oh, sorry, yeah, you're right, he didn't answer. So there's no standard for switching out that filter, you just do it when?
We would be doing it, so there is a manufacturer recommendation. We would be more aggressive than the manufacturer recommendation.
Fair.
Does the public have any more questions? I saw your hand.
I just wanted to, I had a comment, not a question, really.
Well, we'll take comments after everybody has given their testimony.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it was just to allay the concern about the smell. I don't see it as a big concern at all.
Well,
No, I'm not.
no, yeah, at the end, we'll ask if you have any comments.
If there's none, then we'll
Anybody
go to
else?
Mr. Steck.
Yeah, Mr. Steck, please.
Thank you. Look at your.
Sir, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Would you please state your full name and business affiliation for the record?
My name is Peter Steck, S-T-E-C-K, 80 Maplewood Avenue, Maplewood, New Jersey. I'm a licensed planner since 1976, and my license is still in effect.
Have you ever been accepted by a board as an expert in planning?
This week? Yes.
I believe we can accept this witness.
Thank you very much. Mr. Steck, you've visited the property, you reviewed the ordinances, and specifically the conditional use for this, and you have an opinion?
Yes. In the big picture, this is an industrial building that's had a number of industries in it, and it's in a zone that permits manufacturing and offices. Your code says that when you change uses from a category like industrial to one that produces more parking, which is offices, that triggers potentially a parking variance. So technically, what you've had before you for the 2 cannabis processing facilities are industrial to industrial, so it hasn't triggered. As Mr. Genova said, when he proposes an office use, regardless of the number of employees, the standard goes from 1 space for every 750 square feet to 1 space for every 250 square feet. So it's, even if there's only 1 employee in his office, he's going to trigger the parking standards in the ordinance. The exhibit, I guess A5, is something that I produced, and I'll just briefly go through it. One of the requirements is that you you're not within 250 feet of a public or private school, K-12 or daycare center. The diagram on P1 is 250 feet as the crow flies. The ordinance is as the pedestrian would walk. So the answer is we easily meet the separation requirement. This is in the C2 zone that permits it. We're not on Walnut Street. The second page of my exhibit has photographs that were taken by me on April 19th of this year, and I believe they accurately depict existing conditions. And as Mr. Genova said, originally the HVAC equipment was going to be on the front half of the building. In this case, it's going to be on the back half on a platform on the roof with screening, so it's further away from residential uses. The third page of the exhibit shows the floor plan that's already been described. The space that's in blue is about 2,000 square feet. So if you just measure, width times the height, that's only, it may be 2,009 square feet. What the applicant is sharing part of the common area, the lobby that's controlled. It's not formally part of his space, but I can tell you that the area colored in blue is about 2,000 square feet. When I did my diagram about the closest door, to 250 feet, I used the door to the outside, the emergency exit door. But the answer is that's only going to be used in an emergency purposes. You really, the actual door that's going to be actively used is part of the controlled lobby that is probably 10 feet over. So in short form, the real nub of this application is we're requesting a conditional use, and your conditional use standards are in the ordinance. You can't be located on Walnut Street, which we are not. We don't have a medical cannabis retail use, so that second criteria doesn't apply. And then it references to section 347-17.2 that says you can't provide a cannabis use as part of a home occupation, and there are no residential uses on this site or proposed. Number two, you can't be housed in a vehicle or a movable structure. This structure, if I recall, has a foundation, so it's not going to be moved. And the third one was the simple buffer zone, where we can't be within 250 feet of either a daycare center or a K-12 public or private school, and that's as a pedestrian travel. So it's clear, and in fact, the Janice Talley memo says it, that we meet the conditional use requirements. And again, as an aside, we don't right now trigger in my opinion, a site plan or a parking variance, but I think that last space, if it does come into an office use, regardless of the number of employees, it will trigger a parking variance. The front part of the property, so there's 2-hour parking on the street. I think it's 9 to 6, Monday to Fridays. The first part of this parking lot is only about 35 feet wide. So if that were formally striped, it would have to be for compact cars and possibly at an angle. When you get to the wider part of it, it's about 48 feet wide, and that can accommodate a standard 24-foot aisle and 19-foot parking spaces. So once you get to the back, it will be more of a standard design, but because of the dimension in the front, you would have to have compact spaces, which your ordinance allows. So again, this is kind of a jump into the future. I would expect the owner to have to come in for at least a parking variance, and that would likely trigger site plan approval. But that's, as I read the application, not the subject for this evening.
That's correct. Is that it? Okay. Anybody have any questions of Mr. Steck? How about the public? Any questions of this witness? No? Okay, okay. I think we're
I
good.
told you I'd be short.
You've just left us all speechless, that's all.
Okay. Counselor, do you want to do a recap, or
I think we've covered everything.
we've covered everything?
And just, we'll the
Yeah,
ability to
okay.
respond to any of the public if there is some question.
Okay, so now it's time if the public has any comment on this particular application, not questioning the witnesses, but a comment on the application, pro or con, or anything you want to say. Now's your chance.
I just wanted to say that I don't.
Well, you have to come up to the mic, because this is recorded,
That's what I've done.
so you're going to have to wrestle this man to get to the mic.
You jumping the gun. Oh.
Okay. Please state your name and your address.
My name is Jake Pinelli, 2 Sutton Drive, Matawan, New Jersey. All right, as I just stated, my name's Jake Pinelli. Sorry, I got to write this all down. Otherwise, I get a little too nervous. But I'm from the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. I'm here to speak on behalf of Mr. Riga. The UFCW is a labor union of over 1.4 million members and the official cannabis union as designated by the AFL-CIO. Mr. Riga has pledged to treat his employees with fairness and respect by signing a labor peace agreement with the UFCW. What that means is that Ray has recognized his employees will have a right to form a union and he will remain a neutral party while the employees determine if they want to unionize. This means that the employees over at, pardon me if I pronounce this wrong, just tell me.
TLEHL.
TLEHL?
That's of it, yeah.
All right. The employees will be a strong, educated, and dedicated workforce with long-term career goals and the ability to achieve them. That's workers from the community right here who can maintain a career in cannabis while still being a member of the town they love. The UFCW believes that good jobs start with good employers, and we believe Ray is well on the path to being a good employer. The UFCW also offers the only state-accredited apprenticeship program through the New Jersey Department of Labor, Rowan University, and us, the UFCW, where all unionized cannabis workers will have the opportunity to go through the same high-level education and industry training. I would also like to note that as a micro business, Mr. Riga did not have to sign a labor peace agreement with us. It was not part of the requirements. He went out of his way to ensure that the future of his workforce will be secure. We ask that you support Mr. Riga as the UFCW believes that he will treat his workers, the workers of Montclair and its neighboring towns, fairly and with care. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Did you? No? Okay. You were jumping up and down before. Okay, please state your name and your address.
Hey everyone, this is Eric Dawson. Address is 319 7th Street in Jersey City, New Jersey. Thanks for welcoming me to your town. I've worked in the legal cannabis industry for over 2 years now. I build software for the supply chain. I also work in cannabis manufacturing as well. I partner with licensed operators currently in South Jersey, and I'm really excited to see the industry finding its home throughout the different towns in New Jersey to have responsible manufacturing, responsible consumption, etc. I've gotten to know Ray because we do similar types of manufacturing, and whether he knows it or not, throughout our friendship and getting to know each other, I've been testing his knowledge of manufacturing and testing the integrity of what he's trying to do, and I can confidently be here and say that I have faith in him and his operation. He is a high integrity person, and I think if you're going to have manufacturing here, he is a great person to be leading this type of effort, and I endorse him for those reasons.
Thank you very much. Anybody else with any comments, please? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Stuart Zakem, 36 Hawthorne Place, here in Montclair. I've been engaged in the cannabis industry for 10 years in the communications role, which helps educate people against a lot of the stigmas that they have, which we hear about all the time. And I want to say that Ray fights those stigmas, believes in everything that the cannabis industry is really about, which is changing people's lives for the better. and I wholly endorse his role here, and I hope to be there when he opens his doors and starts manufacturing cannabis, because one of the beauties of legalized manufacturing is that we keep safe products in the hands of consumers rather than the unsafe products which they get now through their usual legacy sources. So it's really important that we have control and competent people manufacturing these products, and Ray certainly meets that in my mind.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Hi everyone, my name is Kendra DNC. I live at 2 South Willow here in Montclair, and I've had the pleasure of working with Ray for about the last 6 months as his CPA. He reached out to me looking for a CPA local to the town, which speaks to his tenacity to making sure that he works with and collaborates with people local to the town of Montclair. Also, one of the things that I really admire about him, and I feel like he really embodies what I love about this town, is that when I first met him, I said, hey, I'm a really good accountant, but cannabis, the industry, as far as accounting, is new to me. And he said, hey, look, I'm not looking for an expert, and I'm willing to teach you everything that I know. So I think that also speaks to the type of employer that he will be, and I fully endorse him, and I hope you guys will support this decision.
Thank you. Be quiet. Thank you.
Matt DiStefano, 1201 Hudson Street, Hoboken, New Jersey. I'm here to let you know that he's a good person, and I work in the cannabis industry as well, doing payroll and HR, so he's already contacted me to pay his employees, and you guys get your tax monies. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the fan club?
My name's Anthony Auerbach. I live in Passaic, New Jersey. And I wanted to just echo what everybody else was saying here, that Ray has actually purchased supplies from me, I believe, to test his process. And, you know, he reiterated a number of times that it was crucial for him to support locals. And to that, and I had run an online business, so it's kind of funny how that worked out, but I would sometimes just deliver stuff to him and even switch things if they didn't work to his satisfaction. But the point being he really does take the promoting and working with the community very seriously. And I was surprised to hear it from everybody else, you know, that it just extended to all the facets of his business. And at this, also, I would say one more thing is that he, in terms of the integrity, in every purchase that he discussed with me or got quotes or, you know, actually made the purchase, it was always about the best quality for the best outcome. And so I fully endorse Ray's business. And initially the thing I wanted to get up and say was, I don't think the smell is a concern at all, but I don't think anybody is concerned with it anymore, so I'm not going to make a big deal out of it.
Well, the neighbors will be, so hopefully.
Well,
yeah.
so then let me just say it's not a cultivation facility, and since there's no actual burning of the material and there isn't a large quantity of it, just the nature of this type of production, I don't think that the little bit of smell that it would create could easily be alleviated.
Well, I hope so, because there are residences very, very close to this location.
Yeah,
So we're
I
really
think,
concerned about the
yeah,
smell.
we hope that the challenge that manufacturing presents is one that we can definitely address with the best available control techniques for odor mitigation, I think is the takeaway.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Want to say anything? No? Okay. I guess it's up to us now to consider the testimony that we've heard and to, I guess I'll, oh, okay. I declare the public hearing closed per my counsel over here. Okay. All right. So now that he's gotten me flustered, does anybody have anything more to say from the board? Or I would like to make a motion to accept this application. I didn't hear any conditions. Arthur, did you? We did have, I think we wanted to make sure there may be some bicycle racks. Anything?
The only condition that I have is that there shall be no consumption of any product on site.
Yeah, they testified to that.
Right.
And I think Jacob had said we'd like a bicycle rack.
This is a conditional use application.
No?
and
Okay.
Not a site plan application, so I'd like.
Okay.
No indication anybody's quite there yet.
Okay, all right, so I make a motion to accept this application as presented. Anybody else have anything? You second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? All abstaining? Anybody abstaining? Okay, one abstention, and the rest in favor. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Next time, don't come with the fan club, okay?
Thank you for having us.
Okay, next.
Can we get serious, please?
Yes. All right, next on the agenda is the document that Janice sent out, which was kind of what we had returned to her, saying what we were interested in doing when we do the master plan reexamination report. Unfortunately, we haven't heard from Carol and Mike Graham. And I think, I can only speak for myself, but, you know, I put myself down for a lot of things, just figuring that, you know, I don't want to be on, 7 committees, but I'm willing to be moved around if someone else wants to take my place or whatever. So I was wondering if maybe we want to, there's no rush with this, so maybe we should just ask Carol and John and others to consider if you would do more than, like John Wynn only has one thing down, maybe he'd do some more. Jeff, you might want to.
I think if we kick this one more meeting. When
Yeah,
people are
kick it to one more
sure
meeting.
that it'll
Yeah.
work itself out.
Right, but people should consider if there's something else they might like to be involved in.
Maybe tell me you could put me out for Washington Plaza.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
And Tommy, if you could add me to Montclair Center and Bay Street.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
No, and I said that I kind of open to whatever, so 'cause
Yeah.
I don't have a, you know, I'm always interested in learning about new places, so.
Sorry, Tony, which one did you say?
Washington Plaza.
Got it.
So I think that's fair if we just think about this one more time, maybe tell Janice, or now that we've told Tommy, other spots that we might want to fill in, we can update this
Sure.
for the next meeting,
Okay.
okay?
And just in talking to folks in my life about this, I think making sure we're clear that we want this to be a very public process
Oh,
with a lot
absolutely.
of community input is going to be helpful, because I know talking to some folks, they were getting the sense it was more if they hadn't reached out to the planning office, they wouldn't be heard. And so making sure that we're really kind of working from the grassroots up will be helpful in making this process a better process and also one more widely accepted by the
Yeah,
community.
I'm 100% behind you on
Yeah.
that, and I think I also had said that at our last meeting. Okay, so that's the plan on this. The next thing is the indemnification ordinance that the township had adopted to indemnify council members and employees.
I wasn't part of that process, but have they adopted it? Or
Yes.
is it just
Yeah.
after
It's
first
been
reading?
voted on.
It's second.
Yeah.
It's done.
law.
It's
It's
a
law.
Yeah,
done deal.
April
It's
12th,
law.
yeah. So what got me kind of interested in this is April 12th, I went to the council meeting, and other people talked about, other council members talked about this, but Robin Schlager's testimony was particularly important from my point of view. Robin, who had been on the planning board, noted that while she was on the planning board, the Lackawanna, when she was looking at the Lackawanna plan, litigation arose out of that, as we all know. And she was named personally in the litigation. The town was named, and the planning board itself were named, but she was named personally. And she said that when she was named personally, she went to the town, our planning board attorney, and asked, are you going to defend me on this? And he said, no, my role is basically to defend the planning board, the entity, the planning board. That's correct?
I don't think so. I think she went to Ira Karasek.
Oh,
That's
she went to
correct.
Ira
Yeah.
as well. She didn't talk to you? She said she talked with you. Okay. Well,
She may have been sued as a member of council.
she was sued as I would have to look at the suit exactly, but it mentioned she was on the planning board and,
They tried to make a claim against her that she recused herself at the last minute
Right.
in order to stack the deck, so to speak.
Right. And also, I think that, what was the other thing? The council, during the process of the Lackawanna review, had voted on an ordinance to basically tell the planning board to speed this up. Remember that? To speed up the process. And,
No,
you don't remember that? Well, anyway.
I think it's, I know what you're, I think
Yeah.
the important part was that she didn't get a
Well, the
defense.
point is that she did not get a defense. And the council voted on this indemnification, in my view, not even thinking of anybody else except the council members, where the person who had given testimony was a planning board member. So I feel and the indemnification only applies to township employees, and it identifies employees as elected officials, appointed people, and actual employees. And I'm
Any employee or officer,
an employee or
elected or
officer.
appointed.
Yes, yeah, precisely. And my view is, while there's, I guess, an implied indemnification of us, I'm concerned because Robin, openly stated that she was not indemnified by the town. So my contention is that I believe that this ordinance should be amended to include volunteers who, in addition to the employees as described, add volunteers who serve on boards and commissions. And then there would be no mistake that we would be indemnified by the town. I don't know how anybody else feels about that, but I feel pretty strongly about that.
Perhaps the board,
What I'd like is,
would the board attorney be able to clarify, do we qualify as officers of the township?
You are not officers
No.
of the township.
We're not officers and we're not employees. And I think it's kind of vague.
Well, hang on,
Yeah.
it's, everybody used the right word.
Okay.
It's official, not officer.
The
what's
proposed
the-
ordinance here says any officer or employee.
Officer, that was what I was riffing
Yeah.
on with our discussion today.
Officer,
Yeah.
employee of the Township of Montclair.
I think
yeah.
I do recall official being stated somewhere though, Jeff.
No, but it's not in here. Everything refers to the definition of employee when you read through the
Okay.
ordinance.
Yes, I guess that's what ended up being
Yeah.
passed.
I was curious about this when I joined the board, and this is some recollection, but just sitting here, I also found some evidence. When you're acting in a quasi-judicial manner, you do have indemnity in federal law. That was told to me a while ago. Because you're acting, if you move outside of those boundaries, and if you impugn someone, or if you, you have to kind of keep in the rails. And I just found a really good article by Dennis Galvin that was written about, and the title is "Board Members Have Immunity, Absolutely," and he goes through the case as to why. When he's saying stay within your, view the evidence and so forth, and if you, defame someone, or if you act out of that, there's some exceptions. But I'd be interested to know.
Problem is, somebody has to show up as your counsel to make that argument.
Exactly. You have you're sued. You
You
need to
don't-
hire an
a judge
attorney
do- yeah,
immediately.
The judge doesn't dismiss the
right.
case for no reason.
Right.
You've got to have a lawyer go in and make whatever
your
arguments
case. Yep.
are, cause it to be dismissed. I mean, let me,
Well, okay. All right, so then the second part, so you're saying we need defense.
We need defense. The main
But
thing we need is
in
defense.
that manner, if the board itself is immune, individuals, listen, it seems to make some sense. I'm not disagreeing, I certainly don't want any immunity, myself, but I'm just kind of wondering what the law actually is, And is this just belt and suspenders on something that the town would be obligated to provide?
The town, see, that's the issue. So, look, I think it was a disgrace that the town did not provide a defense for Robin when she was sued. And
But she didn't have a lawyer either.
But
There was no lawyer who appeared on her behalf, to my knowledge.
she said otherwise. I didn't look at the docket, but it's,
She said she went to an attorney and he gave her some, gratis advice for an hour. And he said that if need be, you're going to have to give me a $2,000 retainer and I will represent you.
but I mean, I just want to kind of, the council did what it did. And I don't love the wording. I think, so here's where we are. As things stand now, there are two, the mayor and a councilor sit on this board by law. It seems clear to me that their actions as members of the planning board are covered by the indemnification ordinance, period, full stop. An interesting question arises about the mayor's designee. If the mayor does not sit on the planning board himself or herself and designate someone, whether that indemnity transfers to a designee, this is silent about that. It seems incongruous to me that some members of this board would be entitled to indemnification under the ordinance and some would not. And so I think that, for me, the better reading of this ordinance, if I were in the shoes of the town attorney, would be that we're already covered by this. But I agree with Arthur that the wording is ambiguous. We're not officers. We're appointed, but we're not officers. And so, that we are at the moment left at the mercy of the town attorney making the same decision as with respect to us that a former town attorney made with respect to a member of council who was sitting on the board by designation. So I don't have a problem with the board making a formal request of the council to amend the ordinance. I do, though, think that how we phrase that request is meaningful, because if we say, it sure seems as though we are covered because you've indemnified two members of the board, and it would, it's highly irregular to imagine that you didn't intend to cover us, but we think that it would make sense for you to clarify the language so that there's no doubt of it. I think that is a better request than, hey, you left us out and please change it, because I don't know that it's going to make a difference in the grand scheme of the world, but I think that if we say, I happen to believe, and if we say in a request that we think that a good reading of this is that we're already covered, but you ought to do it. The downside of that is if I'm wrong about that and we're not covered and we say we are, us saying we are has no legal effect whatsoever. But
Right. So the first memo that I actually sent to you, Cardinal, it seems clear to me, based on what I was reading and the research I did, that indemnification of the board members is not really an issue. The board will be indemnified provided the individual member doesn't do something, on a frolic and detour, doesn't do something.
Right.
That's
their
an actual legal term.
In the scope of their work on the board, we want
Right.
indemnification for that,
But
absolutely.
the issue
Use it all the
that
time.
I don't know about is why Karasik refused to provide Robin with a defense
Mhm.
when she was named
Right.
individually. I don't know the answer to that.
Right.
I do think that the board, in addition to being indemnified individually,
Mhm.
I think the board should have the ability to have a defense
Right.
to these kinds of cases.
Yep.
I don't disagree with
Right,
that.
right. And I believe, I like the way you phrased that. I think we should perhaps phrase something in the way that you have, but I certainly, for absence of doubt, think that the council needs to address this with respect to our board, probably the zoning board,
I was gonna
and
say.
other boards and commissions.
Right,
Yeah.
but so, yes, I'm just saying that the planning board is somewhat unique because of the council participation.
Yes, yes.
But I do, and I think that for purposes of, and I think that that's kind of the fig leaf, is that for purposes of fairness, all of the volunteer boards should be entitled. Now, but again, and listen, I mean, I'm saying this now as the person who, at the state level, was in charge of figuring out who was entitled to indemnification, because you've got to make a decision at the, when you're deciding whether or not somebody's covered by the ordinance, first thing you have to decide is were they acting within the scope of their employment. And that's a judgment call made by the attorney that's,
Right.
you know, saying yes or no in the first instance. And if that person says no, you sue them, hiring your own lawyer, and then if you win, you get reimbursed. And so none of this is perfect. All of this is ultimately in the hands of the town attorney. But I do think that, you know, my suggestion would be, I don't know if it needs to become a motion, I think we just ask for it, but Arthur can tell me if I'm wrong about this. I think that my suggestion would be that we ask the planning board attorney to propose wording for an amendment that would accomplish what we think we want to accomplish for ourselves and for the other boards. And that at our next meeting, if our council presents that to us, we then, with everybody here at the next meeting, we make a motion to refer that to the council as a request from the planning board for that to be adopted as an ordinance. Does that make sense?
Or refer to the town attorney, maybe?
Yeah,
I
yes
don't-
and no.
Yeah.
As an initial matter, I think if the board feels strongly about that, I would approach Paul Burr and say, this is what my board is telling me. Do you want to propose an amendment? And if not, then I will propose language to amend the ordinance to include defense of the board members. And throw the ball back in.
That sounds fine.
My only thought is perhaps sending a nice letter including the Zoning Board of Adjustment, the Environmental Commission, and other similar boards, the volunteer boards, saying like, we want this for all of us, because there's a lot more boards than beyond us. I understand the unique position of the planning department, or the planning board, in that we do have a member of council and the mayor who sit on it, but I don't think that should cause us to not go together with the zoning board and the environmental commission to say like, hey, remember us.
I think that on some level, the governing body must have felt that by including others, people on this board and the zoning board, you're opening a Pandora's box.
Yeah, that's where I am too. And so I mean, I'm not,
In what way? I'm sorry, I don't understand why you would think that.
If the individuals get sued,
Yep.
then the town would have to provide
Yeah.
defenses for
Right.
all of them, and there could be.
and the more, and
But they should, I mean, I don't
No,
know.
but it
Could
depends,
require a number of attorneys,
and
and the town doesn't want to have to pay for that.
And it also depends on the nature of the suit, because the more you include that's beyond sort of the strike zone, so to speak,
Core of what we do.
you've got people who, you know, you've got a lot of boards around here, and a lot of commissions, and a lot of people saying a lot of things in connection with that. And, you know, somebody says something that's defamatory while they're on a board. So I'm just saying that it's not that I disagree, because I don't. It's more that I think that we ought to stick to our own knitting here and let others speak up following our lead, and let the council, in other words, I think it's important to have the planning board go in for the planning board with it, because I think that we've got the strongest case for it, because we've got two indemnified, or 1.5, sorry, you know, indemnified members on the board. I think that if we go in making the case that there needs to be an expansion of the ordinance, it will open the door for other people to come in, but I don't think we ought to be saying, you know, we are coming in on behalf of.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting we say we're coming in on behalf of everyone else, but if people had a letter that was saying, hey, we're the boards and we want indemnification too, saying the planning board is in agreement with them is something I think we should do.
I think that's fair.
That's all I'm saying.
I think it's two separate processes, but I
agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think that's right.
Yeah.
What if the council disapproves? What if they refuse to include actual wording regarding defense?
Well, I mean, you know, look, one one recourse, I don't know, I mean, you know, we're without our chair and our vice chair, but one recourse is we can say bye-bye, and good luck to you. You know, that we're not, if this is not what you're prepared to do for us, that you're prepared to do for yourselves, why should we sit here with our exposed?
We have
On
a
bond,
coup.
exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, in other words, you're asking the question, what can we do if the council refuses? And the answer is not a whole heck of a lot, other than say, we don't wish to serve under these circumstances.
I will say that sometime your insurance policy provides coverage for volunteer activities, but not everybody has a homeowner's insurance policy.
And there's a
There are
deductible,
renters,
and
and there's deductible, and not every policy, homeowner's policy, provides such coverage. Mine doesn't, for example, but I think you said yours does, so it depends on. No. Anyway, so that's another thing to look at.
But Arthur, the point that you just made is there's a definitive no, then it's more no than we have now, I guess. So you're saying watch what you ask for, because you could, now there's.
I'm in agreement with Jeff that we, as this board, should just look out for ourselves. We should just go and say, this is what our board is saying. And if the council or the township attorney wants to expand that, say, well, you know, the planning board is saying this, what about the zoning board? What about the environmental committee? That's up to them. So I think that's what I'm agreeing with Jeff and with.
No, I thought you said if they say no, then what do we do?
If they say, I
That
just
was my-
posited that, what if they say no?
Right,
What
that
would
was
we
my
do?
question. It's a more no than if you just let the sleeping dog lie.
That was
Then
my
at least we
interpretation,
know,
too, you
and
know.
if you're really concerned about it, you know, you could buy yourself a policy.
Am I going to deprive us of a quorum if I have to leave? I have a client emergency.
I think we have a plan.
Okay.
I think we have a plan.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we know, other than what happened with Robin, do we know historically that
The board has been sued. Absolutely.
The board, but not individuals, right?
I don't know the
Yeah.
answer to that, but I know that this board has been sued many times. But it's, generally speaking, it's by the board itself. You take an action on the application, and they don't like it, so it becomes a prerogative writ action. And that, you know, I handle those myself. So, but when you get into individuals, and that's the reason I didn't even raise it in the memo that I sent to you.
Yeah.
I don't, it's not clear
Yeah.
that there is a defense unless the ordinance says that there's a
Right.
defense. And Jeff and I, you know, he's gone, but Jeff and I were going back and forth today on this question. And he and I had a little bit of a disagreement. I agree with you, Arnold. I
Mhm.
think the ordinance needs to be expressed. It needs to
Absolutely.
be clear.
Mhm.
And, you know, Jeff is more, I don't want to characterize what he was saying, but basically, you know, he thinks that there was enough room because the mayor sits here
Yeah.
and there's a council liaison. Well, and if they get coverage and if they get a defense, well, it would be, what was his word, inequitable or, you know,
Mhm.
wouldn't- it would be incongruous. That
Yeah,
was his word.
yeah.
Not every board requires, like, personal, so.
A designee, a mayor's designee, yeah, yeah.
Classification of different boards too. I
Mhm.
mean, a board like this might be classified normally where environmental would be classified the same. I can't think of any other boards, but they may be boards that are just, like historical preservation and stuff like that.
Well, they're on
Where
They're on
they would-
different levels in a
Yeah,
sense.
but we would have to be covered because of litigation, history of litigation versus environment.
I'm also realizing.
I don't know if that makes sense. Makes sense in my head.
Yeah. But you're a legend in your own mind. so.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Maybe we are the only board that has been sued before. Have the other boards been
The
sued?
zoning board
The zoning
has
board.
been
The zoning
sued as
board
well.
has been sued, yeah, the zoning board, yeah.
But I'm not aware of any actions that have been brought against
Personally.
the Environmental Commission, for
Or
example.
the Civil Rights Commission might, I don't know any of them.
I can see that.
Yeah, I could see that too. Mhm.
Well,
Anyway, but I think we have a plan,
Yeah.
right? So let's
So
stick to
I'll
our
reach out to
plan.
Paul and
Yeah.
tell him that this is what my board is telling me.
Right.
If anything, do you think the council will want to do about it, and if
Mhm.
you don't want to take steps, the board is going to, you know, require me to submit something to the governing body.
Mhm. Okay, yep.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I think that works. Makes me happy. Okay, I think we have bills to look at. Is that the last thing?
Unfortunately,
Oh.
mine are not included.
Oh, man.
This is me off.
Do we have a motion to pay bills?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? So moved. Okay, do we have any committee reports? I don't think so. Okay, so make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yippee.
Aye.
Sales related